Jeff, what the hell are you thinking? You're looking up at all these ladies' vaginas, you know, as I'm looking at.
You think you know everything about the dude and his wild adventure through Los Angeles? But behind those dark sunglasses and that ratty bathrobe lie shocking secrets that most fans never figured out. The Big Lebowski wasn't just a quirky comedy about a laid-back slacker who loved White Russians and bowling. It was a carefully crafted masterpiece hiding real-life inspirations, method acting madness, and personal struggles that shaped every iconic scene. From Jeff Bridges staying in character between takes to John Goodman's terrifying intensity that genuinely scared his co-stars, prepare to uncover the untold stories behind one of cinema's most beloved cult classics. What you're about to discover will change how you see the dude, Walter, and that mysterious rug that really tied the room together forever. Jeff Bridges. Let's start with Jeff Bridges, the man who brought the dude to life with such perfection that millions still quote his lines today. But here's what most fans never realized. Jeff Bridges didn't just play the dude, he practically became him. And the transformation was so complete, it worried his own family. The biggest secret? Bridges was so committed to the character that he stayed partially in the dude's mindset even when cameras weren't rolling. He would shuffle around the set in that same laid-back manner, speaking in the dude's slow, contemplative way between takes. His co-stars said it was like watching someone live in two worlds at once. Susan Bridges, his wife, later admitted she was concerned when Jeff came home still speaking like the dude, wondering if he was losing himself in the character. But there's an even deeper truth behind his iconic performance. The dude wasn't just a fictional character. He was based on a real person named Jeff Dowd, a film producer and political activist who the Coen brothers knew personally. Dowd really did call people man constantly, had that same easygoing philosophy about life, and even had similar experiences with bizarre situations. When Bridges met the real dude during filming, he was shocked at how perfectly the Coens had captured this man's essence. The role also helped Bridges battle his own anxiety issues, as the dude's philosophy of taking it easy became genuinely therapeutic for the actor during a stressful period in his life. John Goodman. Now let's talk about John Goodman, who brought the explosive Walter Sobchak to life with such terrifying authenticity that it left his co-stars genuinely shaken. But what most fans don't know is that Goodman's volcanic performance wasn't just brilliant acting. It came from a very real and dark place that he was battling off camera. Goodman was struggling with severe alcoholism and rage issues during filming, demons he'd been fighting for years. He channeled this personal darkness directly into Walter's character, creating a performance so raw and intense that it sometimes crossed the line between acting and reality. His co-stars admitted they were genuinely intimidated by him on set, especially during Walter's explosive rants. When Walter screamed about Vietnam or the rules of bowling, Goodman's fury was so authentic that even Jeff Bridges would step back between takes, unsure if his friend was still acting. The Coen brothers wrote Walter specifically for Goodman because they knew he could tap into that volcanic anger, but they had no idea how deep his personal struggles ran. Goodman later revealed that some of Walter's most intense moments came from real rage he was feeling about his own life and addiction. The character became a way for him to release years of pent-up frustration in a controlled environment. The role became therapeutic for Goodman, helping him understand his own anger while creating one of cinema's most memorable characters. Years later, he credited Walter with helping him recognize his need for treatment. Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi's Donnie might seem like just comic relief, but there's a heartbreaking secret behind his character that most fans completely missed. Donnie barely speaks throughout the entire film, and when he does, Walter immediately shuts him down with, "Shut the fuck up, Donnie." Here's what the Coen brothers never told audiences. Donnie represents innocence in a world of cynicism and violence. Buscemi understood this from the beginning and played Donnie as someone desperately trying to connect but constantly being pushed away. The real tragedy? Donnie's death at the end wasn't random. It was symbolic of how society destroys the gentle souls who just want to belong. Buscemi revealed years later that he based Donnie's eager, childlike energy on people he knew who were always trying to fit in but never quite succeeded. The bowling scenes were particularly emotional for him because Buscemi had grown up bowling with his father, and those memories of wanting approval flooded back during filming. When Walter and the dude scatter Donnie's ashes, Buscemi said it felt like saying goodbye to a part of his own childhood innocence. Julianne Moore. Julianne Moore's Maude Lebowski was far more than just the eccentric artist with a strange accent. Moore hit a powerful feminist statement inside what appeared to be a quirky supporting character, and the secrets behind her performance run deeper than most fans ever imagined. That distinctive mid-Atlantic accent wasn't random. Moore studied recordings of wealthy East Coast intellectuals from the 1940s and 50s, women who used their voices as weapons of authority in male-dominated spaces. She wanted Maude to sound like someone who had never been told no by a man in her life. But here's the shocking truth. The nude scene where Maude paints while suspended from the ceiling was Moore's idea. She insisted on actually performing those movements herself, spending hours with professional aerialists to make it look effortless. Moore later revealed she saw Maude as a representation of female power that doesn't need male approval or validation. The real secret? Moore based Maude's entire persona on real feminist artists like Carolee Schneemann, women who use their bodies and sexuality as statements of independence. Every scene with Maude was Moore's quiet rebellion against how women were typically portrayed in male-driven comedies. The Coen brothers, directors behind the cameras, Joel and Ethan Coen, were hiding the biggest secret of all. The Big Lebowski wasn't just a stoner comedy, it was their deeply personal meditation on masculinity and the American dream. But what shocked even their closest collaborators was how much of the plot came from real events. The Coens revealed years later that the kidnapping storyline was inspired by actual cases they'd read about, where wealthy families staged fake kidnappings for money. But here's the mind-blowing truth. They wrote the entire script around the idea that nothing the dude does actually matters to the plot. He's completely irrelevant to the central mystery, which was their brilliant commentary on how ordinary people get swept up in rich people's problems. The brothers fought brutal battles with the studio over the film's content. Executives wanted them to cut the Jesus character entirely, calling him too weird and unmarketable. The Coens refused, knowing that John Turturro's bizarre bowler was essential to their vision. They even threatened to walk away from the project rather than compromise their strange, perfect world they'd created. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Brant, Philip Seymour Hoffman's Brant, might have seemed like a simple comic relief character, but the late actor brought a haunting vulnerability to the Big Lebowski's obsequious assistant that most viewers never noticed. Hoffman's secret preparation for this role revealed his incredible dedication to understanding even the smallest parts. Hoffman spent weeks studying personal assistants to wealthy men, observing how they moved, spoke, and desperately tried to please their bosses. He discovered that these people often lived in constant fear of disappointing their employers, which explained Brant's nervous energy and eager-to-please attitude. But here's what shocked his co-stars. Hoffman created an entire backstory for Brant that never made it into the film. He decided that Brant was secretly in love with the Big Lebowski, which explained his devotion and the way he looked at his boss. David Huddleston, who played the Big Lebowski, said Hoffman's performance made him genuinely uncomfortable because the longing in his eyes felt so real. Hoffman later called Brant one of his favorite characters because he represented everyone who's ever felt invisible while desperately trying to matter to someone who doesn't even see them. John Turturro, Jesus Quintana. John Turturro's Jesus wasn't just a flamboyant bowler with a criminal past. He was the Coen brothers' most controversial character, and Turturro's performance hid secrets that would have shocked audiences if they'd known the truth during filming. Turturro spent months developing Jesus' elaborate persona. But here's what most fans never learn. The character was originally written as a minor throwaway role. Turturro was so captivated by the few lines he was given that he begged the Coens to expand the part. He created Jesus' entire wardrobe himself, choosing purple because he said it represented both royalty and madness. The most shocking secret? Turturro based Jesus' hypersexual confidence on real people he'd encountered in New York's underground bowling scene. Men who used their athletic prowess to mask deep insecurities about masculinity. He studied videos of professional bowlers from the 1970s and noticed how many performed with an almost sexual intensity. But the darkest truth behind Jesus was his registered sex offender backstory. Turturro researched actual cases to understand how someone could carry that shame while maintaining such outward bravado. He called Jesus a broken man pretending to be a king. Production secrets. Behind the scenes of The Big Lebowski, the Coen brothers were performing magic tricks with mirrors and smoke, hiding the fact that they were making a masterpiece on what Hollywood considered a shoestring budget. But the real secrets of how they brought this bizarre world to life would shock even the most devoted fans. The most mind-blowing revelation? That iconic bowling alley, Hollywood Star Lanes, was actually a rundown dump that the production team completely transformed. They spent weeks painting, installing new lighting, and even replacing the floors to create the perfect 1990s bowling paradise. But here's the kicker. They had to bowl real games during filming because the sound of fake bowling was too obvious. Jeff Bridges actually became obsessed with improving his game between takes. The White Russians presented an unexpected challenge. After dozens of takes, Jeff Bridges was getting sick from drinking the cream-heavy cocktails. The prop master secretly created a fake version using water and powdered coffee creamer. But Bridges could always tell the difference. He insisted on drinking real White Russians for close-up shots, claiming the authentic taste helped him stay in character. The biggest budget secret? The entire film was shot for under $15 million, forcing creative solutions that actually made it better. Cultural impact and legacy. What happened after The Big Lebowski hit theaters in 1998 shocked everyone involved. It became something nobody saw coming. The film barely made back its budget during its initial release, but then something magical and completely unexpected began to happen across America. Within 5 years, people were dressing up as the dude for Halloween, quoting Walter's rants and throwing White Russian parties. But here's the secret that even the Coen brothers didn't predict. Their silly bowling movie accidentally created a real philosophy called dudism. Actual scholars began writing academic papers about the dude's approach to life, calling it a form of modern Taoism. The most shocking development? Lebowski Fest, which started as a small gathering of fans in a Louisville bowling alley, exploded into massive conventions across the country. Thousands of people dress as characters and bowl together while discussing the film's deeper meanings. Jeff Bridges himself was stunned when he attended his first fest and saw grown adults living by the dude's philosophy of taking life easy. But the real cultural impact runs deeper than anyone realized. Therapists began recommending the film to patients dealing with anxiety, claiming the dude's laid-back approach was genuinely therapeutic. The carrot egg